Hi guys, it's Jenny, welcome back to my channel and welcome to day 7 of 12 Days of Christmas Conspiracies. I can't believe we're over halfway through, like that's crazy. I hope you're enjoying, I don't know why I said it like that, what the hell. I hope you're enjoying them so far though. So for today's video I am going to be sharing with you some different elf conspiracy theories about the movie Elf. So let's just get into it, shall we? So if you've never seen the Christmas movie Elf, which I'm sure everybody has, it is a classic Christmas film. I know it's pretty much on loop in my house throughout the month of December. Like, it is a classic Christmas film, but if you've never seen it before, it's basically about this elf called Buddy who, when he was a toddler, was accidentally transported to the North Pole, and Santa finds him on his doorstep, so decides to give him to the elves to raise as one of their own. So unable to shake the feeling that he just doesn't fit in with the rest of the elves, he decides to travel to New York to find his biological parents, and that's where he finds his dad and his stepmom and like half brother. And at first his father Walter is very skeptical about this and very cynical, but after a DNA test proves that Buddy is in fact his son, he starts to form a relationship with his son Buddy, which of course causes a lot of chaos in their family. So that's basically the gist of what the film Elf is about. So the first theory was actually created by a Reddit user who I can't remember the name of, but of course I will link it down below if you want to check out the whole original theory. But this theory is kind of a bit out there, and it's that Buddy isn't as innocent as he comes off, and he's maybe got some weird like sexual fetishes that he just plays off as like his innocence, like, oh, I'm an elf, like I don't know, blah blah blah. But yeah, let's get into how this theory came about. So basically, about halfway through the movie, when Buddy is in New York, he is in the department store that he works in, and he can hear a woman singing from the woman's locker room. So of course he goes to investigate because the woman is singing a Christmas song, and Buddy's an elf, he loves Christmas. So he goes to investigate and finds the woman and sits outside singing along with her, but it turns out she's actually in the shower, naked of course, singing this Christmas song. And so when she can hear Buddy singing, she freaks out and tells him to get out, and then he realizes that she's naked and puts his hands over his eyes and screams and runs out of the bathroom. Later on, Jovi actually asked Buddy why he was in the woman's locker room, and he replies by saying, I didn't know you were naked in the shower. And this is kind of just like played off as like a joke and like, oh, Buddy doesn't know this, he's innocent. However, we actually find out that Buddy does know that you have to be naked to be in the shower, because in one of the first clips in the film, when he's still in like elf land, he's shown showering, and it's very clear that he is naked in the shower. So he does know that you have to be naked to be in a shower. So it's kind of a bit odd that he'd be like, oh, I didn't know you were naked in there, because it's like, you do know, you know? So this kind of makes you wonder what other things happen in the film that is just played off as like Buddy's innocence. So another thing that the Reddit user points out is the scene where Buddy is helping his brother in like a snowball fight, and he's shown like brutally hitting these young children who are on their way home from school with snowballs, and they're clearly very upset about it. So it's kind of a bit like he's not so innocent because he is causing like harm on these children, which is a bit weird. And then the last example is when he's working in the mailroom, and one of his co-workers, he sees him pouring something into his drink, which we all know is like alcohol, but Buddy thinks it's syrup, so he asks if he can have some, and so the guy gives him some to pour into his drink, and then he gets very, very drunk in the mailroom, but just plays this off by the fact that he thinks it's syrup, which is kind of a bit like, I don't know, like he probably does know it's alcohol, but who knows? But yeah, that's kind of like the whole theory, and it's quite like an out there theory, and the Reddit user does say that at the end. But it's an interesting one nonetheless. So then the last theory is that Elf is actually a prequel to the film Step Brothers. And this theory was thought of by Twitter user Barstool Trent. He tweeted this out, which kind of got like a conversation going about how it could possibly be true. And I found it very interesting, so I wanted to include it in this video. So if you've never seen the movie Step Brothers, it's basically about Brennan Huff and Dale Doback, and they are two guys that have one thing in common. They're both lazy, unemployed leeches who live off their parents. And when Brennan's mother and Dale's father marry, they of course move in together, and it turns the overgrown boys' world upside down, and their insane rivalry actually pulls the family apart, which forces them to work together and reunite their parents. So both films actually include the actress Mary Steenburgen, who plays in Elf Buddy's stepmom, and in Step Brothers Brennan's mother, so that's one link there. So although in Elf she does play Buddy's stepmom, it's shown in that film that she has more of a liking to Buddy than his biological father does. So the theory states that in Elf, Buddy's dad and stepmom actually have a divorce, and because his stepmom shows more of a liking to Buddy and shows to be more of an appropriate guardian for Buddy, she gets custody of him, and so they move out, and then she meets Dale's dad and gets married. So of course the main difference is that their names are different. In Elf he's called Buddy, and in Step Brothers he's called Brennan. However, they're quite similar names. So we know that in Elf, Buddy only gets that name because when Santa finds him as a baby on his doorstep, the brand of diapers that he's wearing is called Buddies. So that's kind of the name he is given. So it kind of makes sense for his mum to change it to Brennan as more of an like adult name. And also the names are quite similar, so it's not too much of a leap to the other name. Another interesting example is that the two brothers in Elf and Step Brothers, the actors are very similar looking. Obviously in Elf he's like very young, and in Step Brothers he's more of an adult. But if you look at the pictures of them side by side, it could easily be the brother from Elf grown up. So that's like, it's very interesting. So both Buddy and Brennan are very good singers, and it's shown a lot throughout the two movies that they are both pretty amazing singers, so that's another thing that they've both got in common. It's also mentioned in Step Brothers that Brennan recently worked in PetSmart, which means that he has a love for animals, which of course Buddy the elf does because he's an elf, and it's kind of mentioned in Elf that he does love animals too, so it's another thing that they have in common. So one last piece of evidence to kind of support this theory is that both Buddy and Brennan kind of refuse to grow up, and that is like the main issue in both Elf and Step Brothers, is that they refuse to grow up and be an adult. So that's obviously another thing kind of linking the two films together. But yeah, that kind of concludes the theory. It's a very interesting one, and I think it could very easily be true. Obviously it's the same actors in both films. There's a lot of similarities between the two. So I think it's very easy for it to be a prequel to Step Brothers. But yeah, that is it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope you found it interesting. I had a lot of fun researching this one, so I hope you guys like it too. Give it a big thumbs up if you do, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel down below so that you don't miss the last few days in the 12 Days of Christmas Conspiracies series. And yes, I hope you're having a lovely day, and I will see you tomorrow for my next video. Bye guys!